have some not good things going on with my makeup here. Alrighty then. So we are, I wish some people didn't post certain things. Anyway, we are live on Facebook yet again. So yeah. Yeah, hey everyone. So Reba Haas here from Team Reba and the radio and podcast show Open House with Team Reba. And of course at Remax Metro East Side. And I got my sidekick as usual.
Eric Osnes here from Homebridge Financial Home Mortgage.
You probably hate being called my sidekick, but you literally are on my side. Right at our Brady Bunch, you know.
That's right.
Brady Bunch house. So, hey guys, I'm on Facebook Live. You know it's live when you get to do that.
Right.
So anyway, hey, it's the joy of working from home, right? So anyway, we're back on with our regular bi-weekly meeting twice a week update on the real estate and mortgage markets. And I also have some cautionary tales that I'm going to be sharing today. But I think before I do that, because I know both of us have some scheduling issues today to get to, plus we have to go and record the Open House with Team Reba radio show. I'm going to let Eric get started on the mortgage rates, and then I'll jump in with a few things. And then in case he has to dive off early, then we at least have you covered. Okay, so why don't you go ahead and go, Eric?
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, so far a fairly quiet start to the week. Mortgage rates are staying relatively stable right now. Thanks to the Fed pumping still a ton of money into the markets. They are using what's called YCC, yield curve control. And that means now and for the foreseeable future, the Fed will be active in the markets to keep interest rates low. Knock on wood, nothing else weird happens with that. Right now, the national average conventional 30-year fixed rate mortgage, we're sitting right at 3.375%, maybe up just a little bit from last week, but still extremely good. Jumbo rates have finally started to drift a little bit lower. We've been kind of firmly over the 4% mark since the start of this whole crisis. Just yesterday, we dipped below the 4% mark. We're sitting right around 3.875. Right. For jumbo 30-year fixed rate without paying any points. If you want to kick in a point, the rate's down to 3.5%. HAVA still staying nice and low, around 2.75%. So good news on the interest rate front. Just a real quick update on forbearance. I talked about this last week, but if you are considering forbearance, if you do have the ability to not go into forbearance, we would recommend it. We are receiving policies almost daily, and the latest policy is that if you are in forbearance, if you have skipped at least one payment, you are not eligible to refinance at this point on any program, FHA, VA, or conventional. We do not have guidance yet on when you will be able to refinance. So it's really important if you're kind of on the fence about it, maybe you can benefit from it, but you don't have to. I'd sure recommend you hold off on that, if at all possible, because there will be some longer term ramifications from that. And this thing's changing daily. We just don't have any other updates at this point as to when, the policies will change. If you went it, took advantage of it, when can you refi? We don't know. We just don't know at this point.
Okay, well, that's not fabulous news, but at least it's some news. So
it's news, yeah, that's right. Hey, one other thing, watch for fraud. There are massive amounts of unemployment claims being fraudulently filed. I know a lot of different people, even in my family, that have kind of fallen victim to this. First thing I'd recommend, if you have not done so already, you can put very easily a freeze on your credit. Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion have online ways to do that. You can freeze it, you can unfreeze it with a couple mouse clicks. But I'd really recommend you get that credit frozen if at all possible. And just be real careful about that and keep a very close eye on false unemployment claims. They're rampant right now.
May I ask, I mean, you can obviously say, no, it's not appropriate to answer, but how did that show up for this person in your family?
In most cases, what happens is, in my family, they heard from the HR department saying, "How come there's an unemployment claim filed? This isn't right, correct?" And in most cases, unemployment or the HR departments are catching it and denying the claim. What's frightening is you need a social security number to file an unemployment claim. So where's that data being breached? And there's really no clear answer yet. But uh, we just don't know. So that kind of is what leads me to making sure you put a freeze on your credit, and so that you don't fall victim to any type of fraud.
Okay. Hey, speaking of fraud, maybe I'll just go ahead and talk about that part right now, since that's a very nice little segue into what I was going to bring up.
Hmm.
And then I'll talk about what's going on with the numbers in the market. So we have been doing a campaign here in my team, especially because when we see all this fear that's out in the marketplace and everything, we've been doing a campaign reaching out to family law, and we'll soon be doing bankruptcy as well, and estate planning attorneys. And one of the things that we have been sending them, one, it's because we provide services, like if someone passes away, there's a thing called stepped up cost basis. So we were offering our services to them, and actually lining out what those fee structures look like. Because I've been working on several different projects around that recently. And we thought, well, you know what, we should let other people know that this exists and that we can help them with that. Because we don't have, a lot of times, even some of the work that we do isn't because it's related to the sale of a house, it's because it's things that you need for your life, right? So we were doing this huge outreach program. Now, a bankruptcy attorney who I know apparently gave my name to a gal who called me just this morning. And so that's one of the reasons we're a little bit later getting on. I mean, that's why we say one-ish, because, we're both working during our day and we find this very important, but phone calls are interruptions. So they can take you, you don't know how long they're going to last when you get them too. And in this case, here's the thing. I literally thought she was a marketing call when she first got on the line with me, mostly because of the hesitation in her voice and how she addressed me. And I even said, is this a marketing call? Like, that was the beginning of my, because I was immediately going to just be like, eh. And it ended up, you guys, people watching this, please share these videos with people because here's the deal. One of the things that we found when we were talking to estate attorneys is that they have no clue what happens to you, the consumer, when someone you love passes away. And because birth and death notices are public records, there are people out there who very specifically spend their time looking at those and then trying to take advantage of people during their grief. And that shows up in a few ways. And this is how it showed up for this woman today, who I'm now going to go help. Her husband passed away in March. So you can imagine this is very recently. They were together decades. He was a Vietnam vet. That tells you a little bit.
Yeah.
And he passed away from illnesses related to Agent Orange. And so not only was it a very difficult, painful, long-lasting death, but now I have a grieving widow who is older and is going through what I remember experiencing when my father passed away, what she called the fog. And right. I remember having that. She said, I can't remember anything. And it's already 2 months in. And my mother suffered from this too when my dad died, right? I mean, it's grief. And when people start reaching out, because when she was talking to me and telling me, she's like, hey, there's, all these other reasons that she might be selling. I said, well, there's a reason why this attorney sent you to me, because she knows that she can trust us and that we are not going to be, because while we were talking, she goes, and I may already have a buyer for my place. And I went, oh, did you receive an unsolicited letter? And she did. It was someone saying, hey, I may want to buy your place. And that is a person who was watching the death notices and who has now targeted this woman who is in a terrible state. Because as we know, work from home and everything else also means that a lot of the organizations she would normally be able to get assistance from are either closed. People are not in their offices. She has now gone 2 months without any income. She does not have her Social Security payments from her husband. She cannot get his VA benefits. She can't get anything. And I find the person who sent her this the most vile and disgusting person I can imagine. So you can see.
Is this a real estate agent or is this some private?
I don't know yet. I don't know yet because I'm going to meet her between this call and the recording of our show.
Got it.
Because I'm getting her written permission to let me speak with the attorney who represented her in some other issues because it's related to her home. And you can just see by watching my face as I even just begin talking about it. I mean, it upsets me greatly.
Yeah, nobody wants to see anybody get taken advantage of, especially in those types of circumstances.
Yeah, and she lives in a waterfront condo. So you know it's some pig out there hoping to just say, well, what do you think you need? Because that's what happens. They get in touch with somebody and they say, well, what do you think you need? Don't talk to them about what the actual value of the place is. And then it's what's called equity skimming. And this is exactly why we had Paige Ulrey. I want to recommend anyone who's watching this, elder abuse can and should be reported. It happens a lot in real estate for exactly these kinds of situations. And or someone who's in a nursing home with dementia or things like that. We've heard numerous terrible cases of these types of things. So I'm putting this warning out because, you know, people will always want to talk about the glamorous side of real estate, but I can tell you there's a bunch of really disgusting people out there ready and willing to take advantage of others in a time of great need and need for empathy above all else. So I'm putting this out there because, you know, it's come up yet again. I have a big sword fighting against that as much as I possibly can. And I just want the people who watch this to be prepared and be knowledgeable because it isn't just something that happens in Washington State. It happens all over. It happens everywhere. So if you have family or friends in other states, share this with them. If your family has had a recent loss, share this with them so that they understand what's really going on and that they get professional help. Okay. So obviously I get super riled up about this. I get super serious. You know, most of the time I'm always trying to be friendly and fun and, you know, joking and all of that. And there's a lot of good reasons to do that. Like we're super excited because a mutual client of Eric and I are closing today and they're first time home buyers that came to our class. Like, it's like, yay! Like,
veteran no less. Yeah. Which we love.
Yeah. That's the stuff that makes us feel so good every day. But you know what also makes me feel good? Protecting somebody. Yeah. You know, so, and that's what we're going to go do. So, you know, we keep talking about on this programming about the shortage of inventory, and we realize there's a need out there, but we also know we're a high price market. We also know that these scams exist. And an additional one, in fact, actually, hey, Rachel, do you have that document? Rachel, do you have that document that you got in the mail? Oh, yeah. We're going to show you one more here in a second. We're all we're all about showing the dirty underbelly of, you know, what people do, right? Like, I love it. Thank you. Come here a second. Oh, come on. All right. I'm going to try to stay 6 feet away. This is Rachel.
Rachel.
Awesome. Rachel works on our team and she's amazing. So she is also a happy homeowner, having worked with us, because before she came to work here, she and her fiance bought a house working with me and Eric. And anyhow, she got this. Okay. And Eric, you might find this interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Notice how, see at the very top, it says lender, but it's not indicating that it's from that lender. And, or it'll say regarding or reference, you know, home. That did not, I can guarantee you that did not come from the lender. It did not come from Home Street Bank.
Okay, and here's the thing. You got to read these things because Rachel brought this to work. God love her. Because she helps us uncover all this crap that happens all the time. Like I'll just throw out, I don't care if I throw him under the bus or not. My ex-husband got a tax lien put on my house because he didn't pay his last year's business taxes. And I found out because a whole bunch of attorneys sent notices to me and him, he's taking care of it, but holy crap, and they made all these very official letters saying all kinds of awful things that were going to happen. And it's BS. Okay. It's just BS. And, I already had my stuff under control, but this was pretty annoying, but this does say not affiliated with any lender.
Right.
You have to read every little bit. Yeah.
Usually they'll say time sensitive notification urgent. Exactly. And I like how that's printed on red paper, which indicates you're past due.
What they're doing is they're trying to trigger your amygdala, getting your brain in fight, flight, or fear, frozen mode.
Right.
What you to do is be like, oh my gosh. And it has all this other junk on here about it. And you feel like maybe they really know who you are because they'll say what your loan amount is. Well, guess what? That's public record.
Yeah.
When you close on a home, it becomes public record because
deed of trust you sign is recorded.
Yeah, exactly. So, all this stuff starts happening. And then so here's 2 easy ways to receive your free information, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, what in the world? And yeah, it's basically like some insurance-y thing, trying to say that if any of these things happen to you, then they'll pay off your mortgage.
Talk a little bit about that. That's mortgage insurance. And what happens with that type of policy, number one, they're typically very expensive. Number two, they're a declining value policy, meaning the amount of coverage goes down as your loan amount is paid off. You can just go to your regular insurance agent and buy a term life policy where the value will always stay the same. It's probably a fraction of the cost of something like that. And you'd be much better off for it.
So there you go. This, we talk all the time. I have people constantly asking me like, what do you and Eric talk about? Like how much real estate and mortgage can you talk about? Well, how many of you knew about this? How many of you knew about what happens at the recordings office when somebody passes away? So we have lots to talk about all the time. Eric just brought up topics around insurance. We're talking about fraud. This is some big stuff, guys. So we're here to educate so you build life skills because these marketers, they prey on you. Everyone's more worried about what the government has on them. These are the people I'm the most concerned with. Okay, because they're just out to make a buck. So just be aware of that. And, if you ever have questions on something, like you get a document like that in the mail and you're curious if that looks like it's bona fide or not, feel free to reach out to us. We do this all the time. Like we're not, licensed in insurance or anything like that. But I mean, it's one of those things of like, you can kind of, figure out who the frauds are. But I got to say, there's a lot of people out there who haven't been around this enough to know the difference. And they see this official looking document. It's the color, there's all those notices I got because of my ex's tax lien. Every single one of them was threatening in nature. Like, you must call now, or this is going to happen to you. Your home will be taken away, blah, blah, blah. And thank God I do what I do for a living because I knew better.
Yeah.
Somebody else would have been panicked. So you just go to the right professionals, make sure you have good trusted people in your team. And I have enough to say about that, but just know, Eric, we're going to be talking about it on air today for the show. Okay. So for anyone who wants to know about our show, it's Saturdays from 2 to 3 p.m. on AM 1590, The Answer. It's also replayed currently on Sundays from 3 to 4. And then it's also uploaded in podcast sites such as iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and what have you. You can ask your Alexa, anything like that, for access to it. And they're all categorized with a lot of the topics. We have someone new who's going to be getting the last couple of weeks in. And we'll be probably starting to send more of that information out from some of our past shows that are really, really awesome, just like Paige Ulrey, because she was phenomenal on our show. So she's with the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, working specifically around elder abuse and the topic of things like real estate fraud. So anyway, let me get into my numbers just real quick, and then we'll be done for today. I got to get into Matrix. All righty, hold on a second. Got to go home. Perfect for this. All right, so down here on the Market Watch, that's what we've been looking at for many, many weeks now. So of course, everything's bumping around in terms of new listings. In fact, I'm going to be writing these all down as I look at them here on screen with everybody. So new listings, we have 1815. Is that what I'm seeing there? So 1815, and it tells us it went down a little bit. I'm not surprised because it's the middle of the month. We mentioned on one of our prior shows that a lot of humans tend to set these false timelines for themselves all the time. Like, I will be on by May 1st. I will be on by, what have you, right? And so we tend to see fluctuation in the month, even, of the number of listings that come on, particularly when it's a normal market. Now, this is a little bit different. However, we saw some normalcy coming back to it over the last couple of weeks once they reopened us as limited essential businesses, right? So we've got 1815 last week. As a comparison, it was at 2236. And so that was in the first half of the month, right? So then we've got back on market at 297, which is down just a tiny bit, not much. List price reduced is at 886, which is about the same. Last week it was 890. Listing price increased is about, oh no, it's actually gone up a little bit. We were at 158 last week, and we're now at, 138. Now we're at 158. Pending units. This is great to see. 3474. Eric, you're going to love that because last week it was 3473. And the week before that, it was 2939. And the week before, it's like you go back, and when we were at April 7th, it was a 1750.
Wow.
Yeah.
Big change coming around as things are starting to open back up.
Yes, exactly. So while we've been watching the sold numbers go down, that's again because we're hitting that timeline of when we had the shutdown. So there wasn't any new transactions really happening, right? Yeah. So that has shown up because we're down to 1398 for solds. Last week it was 1355. The week before that was 1510. Back on April 3rd, solds was at 1819. Okay, so just trying to give some perspective on all of that and seeing where the trends are going. All right. So this is the conversation I'm having with a lot of people. I did a consult last Saturday with some friends of mine and their daughter, and these were important things for them to see and consider because this pending number, again, we can't say it enough times. If you're going to get out there and potentially get yourself caught in a bidding war, you need to make sure that you are prepared. I was on the phone with this, or doing a Zoom call, I should say, with this family and talking about making sure that they got everything in place. Because when you're ready to go, you got to be able to punch it. Because they had actually gone and looked at a house and then backed off and said, well, we'll get to the financing part later. And I was like, well, but that's going to be a problem because all the places you like in the move-in ready condition that you want have a lot of other people looking for them too. And you could see that just by these pending sales, that there is a lot of activity in the marketplace right now.
I can say every transaction I've worked on in the last 2 months has had multiple offers on it. Every property, every single one.
it's been close to that for us. We have one that we were able to um, get it when it already, but it had gone on during the week that they had the shutdown, or it had gone like right on. Now that house, honestly, they kept saying, well, it's because of, these reasons. Well, it smelled like cat pee. Come on, let's get real. It had flooring damage. It had an obvious water leak by the sink or the dishwasher. Come on, like it had more than just, the timing, and that goes to our point of, if you're preparing your home right now is still a great time to be selling. Everyone keep thinking, oh no, I'm going to hold off. Oh no, we better hold off. Beg to differ. And I've got the stats to back me up. So anyhow, and those numbers of pendings, by the way, if you go back to some of our shows way before coronavirus, that was the level we were at. So people are taking advantage of these really incredible rates. So if you have a position where it's pretty solid and even work from home, there's no furloughing going on, you got a good position to be in, high incomes, meaning like you can qualify for loans, then you're in a pretty good sweet spot right now. And I keep having people say, well, I'm going to wait for the prices to go down. And as we brought up last week, there was a mortgage news report that Eric brought on. Since coronavirus, the Seattle market has experienced in general about a 10 to 11% increase. So those don't jive. People's fear and reality are not the same.
Right. That's right. That's
okay.
right. Yep. Yeah. Still very strong. Very strong.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, we're gonna, unless you have something else, Eric, that you want to cover.
Nope, I got to run. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, enjoy your next meeting, and I'll see you 3:00 for another episode of Open House with Team Reba. And everyone else, thank you so much for watching us on our Facebook Live version of the show.
Have a great week, everyone.